Hi there, thanks for checking us out. It is Beth
And Shirley
with Shirley's Real Estate Group, John L. Scott, and this is the BS Real Estate Show.
Beth and Shirley, that is. And we're here with more real estate news that matters to you.
Today's BS Show is part 2 with Connie Orbis talking all about escrow.
So stay tuned.
Hi there, thanks for checking us out. We're here with Connie Orbis from Fidelity National Title, and this is part 2.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about escrow.
Yeah.
And so I've got 4 questions that I have
Okay.
written down, and then one bonus item at the end.
Okay, fire away.
So the first question is, what is escrow?
Escrow is basically once you have mutual acceptance. Escrow is the neutral third party that makes sure all the terms and conditions on that purchase and sale are met. And so we're not biased over, the buyer and or the seller. We're going to make sure all those terms and conditions are taken care of and we get to a closing on time.
Absolutely. And then so escrow becomes involved in the transaction once we have mutual acceptance
That's
of
correct.
a contract. And at that point, what paperwork are you going to require from both the buyer and the seller?
Well, of course, we want a totally mutually signed around purchase and sale. Make sure that's like the Bible for an escrow officer. So please make sure that you fill out, especially that first page of the purchase and sale agreement with all the contact information. We want to make sure we have addresses if they live out of state, all kinds of stuff like that. So once you have that, we want to make sure that we have a seller's questionnaire and a buyer's questionnaire that goes out. Oftentimes, if we have preliminary title, we try to get that seller's questionnaire out early so that we can get mortgages, liens, judgments. If we have to review any estate documentation, we can get everything clear so that we can actually close in a timely manner and not be looking for that information. On the buyer side, we'll want to find out, and usually we're working with the lender to see if there's any liens that they need to be addressing, whether it's like a child support lien or any other kind of debt that they are required to pay off, like credit cards. But we need that information back so that we can get everything together so we can close on time.
Absolutely. So that kind of touched on the next question, that you remove stuff for both the buyer and the seller, or clear items
Yes.
for both the buyer and the seller. And then so the next question would be, so how does the closing process work in Washington, because it's different in every state?
We are an escrow state, so that means that we do have title and escrow. In many states, it's an attorney state, and people go to the closing table, they go to the attorney's office, both buyer and seller are in the room, they sign documentation, they exchange keys. That is not the fact here in Washington state. We are an escrow state, so they come into the office. Escrow is a neutral third party to review those documents with the buyer and seller. Keep in mind that once we get those documents signed by that buyer, we return all those documents back to the lender, and the lender can have up to 72 hours to review those documents and make sure that they have everything they need to close before they'll release money to us. So keep in mind, people come to the closing table and they think they're going to walk away with their keys and move in. They don't. It doesn't happen in this state.
Not in this state.
Typically, we have same-day signings and fundings, and it closes all on the same day, but it can take a couple days depending on the circumstances in that transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the bonus item is wire fraud has become a fairly big issue.
It's a very lucrative industry, and there's a lot of people that make a lot of money. It's a white-collar crime, and it's very lucrative. So anytime you have, it typically happens often on the buyer side more often. So anytime your buyer's going to be transferring money, make sure that they know that they're talking to a valid escrow officer. Make sure that your buyer has all the contact information for their closing team. It's always good. They can even, if they get a phone call or an email, they can call escrow and say, did you send this to me?
Absolutely.
The last thing you want to do is have somebody wire $2,000 or $200,000 to escrow a week early, and then we call them up for an appointment and ask them how they're going to get funds, and they say they've already sent it. A lot of time wire fraud happens on a Friday, and it's always like this urgency. They're trying to do it so that they actually have maybe 24 to 48 hours with that money to actually get that money and then actually send it offshore somewhere else. They like Fridays because they have the weekend to process that. So
Absolutely, and so the email address will be like really similar to either your broker's email address or escrow's email address, maybe just one letter off, something that's not noticeable.
look at
And-
that chain, and oftentimes everybody gets really excited and says reply all. We've had it where there's been 5 to 10 people in that email chain on the reply all, and if you closely look at the email address, you'll notice that there's an anomaly with it. It's a dash instead of a dot or something. And you can always, like I said, the way you can stop that is instead of saying reply all, make sure that you have that email address of your escrow officer and don't do the reply all. Take it and forward it and make sure you have the right address for whether it's your real estate broker and or your escrow officer and say, did you send this? Oftentimes that's a red flag.
Pick up the phone and call
Pick up the
and
phone.
make sure.
We all make phone calls to verify when we're sending wire instructions, all those kinds of things. So it's imperative that you pay attention and slow down when you're moving money.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
thank you again for your time today.
Sure.
I greatly appreciate it. And if you think of any questions that you might have for Connie, please reply below, call, text, or email us. And until next time, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. Hopefully you found this information useful. If you like the content that we're putting out, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and turn on the little bell
icon.
so you get our future videos. And that's a wrap.
What a bunch of BS. See you next Tuesday.